Another heart-rending story about a poor giant who was suffering with a severe wound in his foot. He was first noticed to forest ranger officers who were in their regular patrols in the forest. The poor elie was limping with difficulty. They couldn't exactly figure out the reason for his limp, but they realized that elephant is in need of urgent help. They promptly informed the wildlife officials about this injured giant. As soon as they got the news, guardians of wildlife, the wildlife officials got into action. They could locate the elephant, who was limping in the dense forest. The officers observed the elephant from the distance. There were no visible signs of injuries in the upper part of the body or legs. They guessed that something has gotten stuck in his foot, which may be the reason the elephant is limping. However, for a closer inspection and treat the elephant, it is needed to sedate the elephant. Because it's dangerous to get close to a wild elephant while standing on its feet, especially when they're in pain. So now the officers are preparing the anesthetic drugs to tranquilize the elephants. These drugs are prepared according to the body weight of the elephant. They darted the elephant from a distance, and the dart hit its rear thigh exactly as targeted. Within a few minutes, the sedative drugs became active, and the elephant went down to the right lateral recumbence. The officers hurried themselves to check whether the elephant's trunk is in the safe position. Otherwise, elephants could have a difficulty in breathing, making the situation more complicated and serious. After they started inspecting the elephant, closer inspection revealed that his foot was deeply injured and has been infected secondarily. The veterinarian guessed that this injury must have happened in the forest when the elephant walked over a sharp-edged object or a tree bark. Poor guy, he must have suffered a lot from his injury. The injury in his foot must have hindered his daily movements. He couldn't walk long distances in search of food in this condition. Infections deep in the foot's tissue can cause permanent lameness if not treated properly. However, this giant had some luck in being noticed by a kind people willing to help. If they hadn't seen him, this elephant might have died silently in the forest from the infected wound in its foot. Before attending to the major injury in the foot, they decided to treat some other minor injuries in the elephant's body. A minor wound that was found in the body above the rear thigh was thoroughly cleaned and packed with antibacterial wound dressing. Meanwhile, another group of officers started administering necessary injectables intramuscularly. Antibiotics were administered to eradicate the infection causing microbes. Painkillers, multivitamins, and anti-inflammatory drugs were also injected. After that, now they are prepared to attend the foot injury. The wound has caused a groove in his heel. An officer thoroughly cleaned the foot with disinfectant. He further cleaned it with a sterile cotton swab, soaked it with povidone iodine ointment. The accumulated tissue debris was removed using sterile swabs and a forceps. Nexent powder was stuffed into the wound cavity. The wounded area was again drenched with povidone iodine solution. A cotton swab soaked with a tincture iodine solution was kept inside the wound cavity for better absorption. After all, the wounded area was externally coated with blush and aseptic fly repellent spray. As all these necessary treatments were provided for today, the veterinarian administered the rival drug to reverse the elephant. To ensure complete recovery, the IV perfusion was repeated for a week. The elephant improved dramatically within 2 days, and the lameness had completely resolved within 9 days.
Nakita. Wahani gan, dan dia putar wahani gan.